I didn't see them online, you printed them up.
Yeah.
Did you find a copy?
Well, let's get started.
And that's ready.
Pause just a
Here, we'll
minute.
do that. He's all set. We're all
Please-
set.
Please join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We don't have a huge number tonight, but we do have a quorum, so we will continue on. Any adjustments to the agenda?
Yes, we do. We have under 7 new business. F would be add Melissa Brown, Ed Tech 3 to title at Somerset. And resignation, she retiring at the end of the year. G, staff nominations, add Nicole DeRoche, special ed teacher at Somerset. And I believe that's for next year. Staff appointments, add Mary Holt, Ed Tech 1, special ed Somerset. Transfer, add Joe Levesque, Ed Tech 1, special ed Comas Regional Middle School to custodian at Somerset. And make sure that we change, we're going to have an action item to change the May boarding meeting to a week earlier. And then there's also adjustments to your current school year calendar for a couple of earned service days.
Very good.
Okay?
And I would like to welcome our newest board member. And for those who don't know, his name is Ray Freed. He is part of the Plymouth delegation, and he's been around here before. So, welcome. Moving along to approval of minutes of the March 12th meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion on the floor to approve. All those in favor? Those opposed? This is a time for anyone in the public that would like to make a comment. Please do so. We would like you to have your name and the town that you live in. Moving along. Reading of communications.
I have nothing from my perspective other than what you would read in the administrative reports.
Thank you very much. And reports.
I've got 2 or 3 quick things. I know we have quite a bit on the agenda tonight. I would just say that this is the springtime kickoff for before vacation. There is some authors in the schools that are going to be present. I think that Craig and Fred is coming to the middle school tomorrow. Mark, you get right up here. He's coming to the middle school. There's also been an author at the elementary schools. Today we had, obviously we have the music's going on. The music was down in Ellsworth, and Dean sent out those accomplishments. Today the Army National Guard was here with their Black Hawk helicopter, and just so you know, each year I do sign a letter that says they can land that on our property. But, and then there are some transition activities starting. In the science fair, if you look in Mary's report, it's kind of phenomenal, the number of students that are getting 4-year scholarships in that. I know Gina's son got it, Josh, our technology director, has got one. Lee Coots, one of our nurses, got her. It's just crazy that those, and I think it was actually virtual, that they're getting these scholarships to the places that they want to go, and it's full pay. So they just do a phenomenal job. If you ever get a chance to come and see that, that's it's quite an event. So, and we are changing a couple dates at the back end of this calendar on your packet. Let's just make sure we check on those, because I don't want people to miss meetings because we didn't communicate. And that would be my report.
All I wanted to mention was to look at the list of meetings. We've got some more budget meetings coming up. It will come to the board May 7th, I believe it
Yeah,
is.
there's 2 options for you guys to come and see the board. The budget roll-up. It'll be a little bit more brief, but there'll be a roll-up on the 22nd. That's the week, the Monday after vacation. And then the Monday, the May 6th, is the next board meeting, and usually we do a very more in-depth report on the budget that night, and then the budget at the board meeting is a little shorter because it's pretty involved, and to discuss it, nuts and bolts, that night would be great.
And then there will be the regional meeting here at Nokomis later on in May, and then we will have a district-wide vote in each polling place in June. So we would like you to come out and ask your questions and be prepared for the regional meeting. Moving along, budget and finance.
You want me to do that?
Yeah.
Because Veronica's not here, I guess I would just say that the reports, your written reports are in your packet. Where we are right now is we rolled it up last night to the percentages that the committee kind of asked for. There's one last outstanding item, which would be our tri-county allocation, but Joe and I have, presented piece by piece to the committee, and then we're right at being able to put it all together for our final look, and then, it'll be a little bit more public of what it's going to hit, how it's going to hit each town. Some towns, as we said, looking there are doing fairly well, and probably the one, Palmyra would be it's just the way that it comes apart. And then, so that's Monday night after vacation at 6:30. And then you'll see the same thing, complete roll-up on the 6th. But we've done a lot of work to get it where it is, and we feel like we're in a pretty good place. So if you have any questions, if you read those reports, just let us know.
Very good. Building, no meeting. Do we have a date?
Any updates on building stuff?
Not really. They're still working on figuring out the water. I am meeting with FEMA tomorrow on the roof. I have a visit actually with a person in place. We're hoping to get take care of the roof at Etna, and then also there was some switches or some data controls at Somerset we've actually found there. So we're going to look at both of those. So I'm working with FEMA on that. But other big projects, there isn't really anything to report, because I think the last time we talked about buildings over there are pretty much complete. The JROTC has moved in and is using their space. I think you're going to see something from the JROTC to name that the hall after somebody, a former commander. And other than that, I think the well is ongoing, but I think we're making progress with some testing over there.
Do we have a date for the next meeting?
No, I'm still in the middle of my semester.
If there's anything major that comes up, we can rearrange a date, or I'll just bring it to the whole board.
Good. Education.
Real quick on that,
Yeah.
so I went to a football boosters meeting last month and talked with Simon. Simon will be sending an email with more information on what it's, so good and I've been collaborating on that, and I'm going to need that to you on that.
I'll hand you my matches, you can light him up.
Any questions for building? Moving on to education.
So we talked about the administrative evaluation process. Mike just walked us through that, and all of that process and how that is all online on our website, but Mike can give you copies because I didn't bring mine. So we talked about that process and how the administrators are evaluated, and some of the points that were brought up was that the evaluation process is mostly for like anybody. Remember, it's like not a good thing, but like you're evaluating goals and how to make somebody better. So that's mostly what it is, but also in our packets, our administrative team writes up what's happening in their schools, and it also aligns with their evaluation. So if you look at the evaluation packet, some of these numbers, like the 2, 3, 1, it all aligns with that packet and where they're meeting their goals in their buildings. So when we don't actually see all their evaluations because we put our trust into Mike, but this administrative communications kind of tells you where they are in their goals and what they're doing to meet those goals. And then we talked about Kindergarten Jumpstart, and Kindergarten Jumpstart is that company no longer runs the program, but we still have teachers that are in the district that were trained and certified for it, so they're using the trains the trainer model kind of thing. And we are still going to continue with Kindergarten Jumpstart and aim for 25 days if we can get the staffing for the summer, but if we can't, at a very minimum, we would like to do the 16 days. And we don't have any future agenda items, so if you have anything, send it to us. If not, we probably won't have a meeting next week.
Any questions for discussion? Moving along to policy.
Policy committee met, and we have for first reading of policies, I have a hard time using the letters, so I'll just read them out. Supervision and evaluation of professional staff, and then student use of cell phones and other electronic devices. I believe we've rolled in 2 policies into one. One which was listed right above it, is that correct? And then weapons, violence, and school safety. And maybe for the sake of efficiency, is it inappropriate to make a motion to approve all 3 of them for first reading?
Okay.
So I would make a motion to approve all 3 of those policies for first reading.
You were doing all of them in a group or just those 3?
Oh, well, that's what I just asked, if it would be appropriate.
Isn't there 4?
There's 4, you're right.
Right.
Should we do it one at a time? Okay. I would make a motion to approve student use of cellular phones and electronic devices.
Second.
Right. Motion and second on the floor to approve this for first reading. Mark?
So I think the idea here, a lot of these are just sort of housekeeping and updating of the policies, but in terms of our discussion about the cell phone policy, Mary was in the meeting, and it was suggested that by updating this policy, we would be demonstrating support for a renewed effort to rein in unchecked use of cell phones in the buildings. The idea being that there's fairly rigid controls put in place in the middle school, and that those seem to relax themselves in the high school, and that maybe by maintaining that as the kids elevate from middle school to high school, it would improve the situation. So it's not really so much a dramatic change in the details of the policy, but I believe it's meant to demonstrate our support of maybe changes in how those rules and policies have been implemented.
So there is a motion and a second on the floor for student use of cell phones and other electronic devices.
So just to clarify, this is to eliminate the 2 it's replacing. Replace it with JICJ.
To clarify, we had on that one page where it's rented out on just a paragraph, that was the original JFCK, and the JFCKR was the policy. And I wanted to show you this, that we're eliminating the JFCK as it's written in our policy book, and we're combining JFCK and JFCR, and that's where it has the yellow and the red. And then the reason we put it in differently today is you do see, without any markup, the 3rd page in JICJ, okay? I can go over that again. We're pulling out this one that used to say JICK, and it was about a paragraph like this, okay? And we want to pull that out, and we added it to our JICK-R. So then, like I don't, this would kind of look like your second read, all, remember, all rolled up and no yellow. That's why I just wanted you to see this, because we don't normally pull out policies very frequently. So we're pulling JICK and making a new JICK with the combinations. Make sense? Because this paragraph standing alone did not make any sense.
So is this kind of like the hat policy that we had where they can't wear hats in the middle school, but they can wear it in high school? They don't use cell phones in the middle school, but they can use cell phones in high school?
That's how it was.
So it was. Mark was right on when we talked
Policy
about
didn't
this.
change.
Policy works.
Enforcement got relaxed.
Enforcement needs to be redoubled. And Mary has talked to her chairs, her department heads, and some of the teachers, and said, you know, if we make this concerted effort together, it won't be one teacher's following the rules and another one isn't. And I think when we discussed it and walked through it, it's like the kids in the middle school, 5 through 8, are used to it. They say they put it in their lockers, or they put it in their backpack, and they don't see it, and some of the parents verified that. And then the freshmen will come up, so it's really our sophomores, juniors, and seniors that we need to say, listen, guys, when you come in next year, we're going to be telling you to put those things away, and we all have to do it together. And she brought up the case study of Coney High School, who again sent out this letter that says we're going to look for your help, and we're going to look for you to back us up when we take away your kid's phone if it's out in the class, and I've asked them to remove it. So I think also the committee would say is that when that comes back to this board, when somebody's upset and says, why are you taking my kid's phone? I didn't say that. But if you have another conversation, they're going to say, absolutely take the kid's phone away because he's not focused on what he or she's doing. So, yes, it's an enforcement policy, and it needs to be stronger in the high school, keep doing what they're doing in the middle school, and then when it comes to somebody who's a little disgruntled because we've taken their phone away and kept them after school or told them not to bring it, you know, that will come to you. I will guarantee you. But that's the point. But the policy, when they discussed it, didn't need to change because it just needs to be enforced.
Mark?
And if I can add this, I went and reviewed this just to clarify it for myself, but the way that our policy procedure works, approving something for first reading is like putting it into the record. And then if you were to review this between now and second reading and have some changes that you would like to see added to it, before second reading is when you would suggest amendments, which could then be approved to this policy or any of these policies that will be approved for first reading.
Correct.
And I just say that to give people confidence that we can approve this and then further evaluate if there are things about it that we would like to see modified.
Any other comments, questions before we vote? Ted?
I'd like to also add that the public is always on us to do something about bullying, and this is tiny steps in that direction. They will not be able to use their phones to bully each other during the day, hopefully, or take pictures, or videotape each other, or videotape fights, or whatever.
Anything else? Let's vote. All those in favor of that policy for first reading? Those opposed? Passes. All right, do you want to continue?
Well, I certainly can, since I know the material so well. I guess I've gone out of order in the packets.
It's okay. I've got it so far.
Weapons, violence, and school safety. We reviewed, well, I would make a motion that we accept for first reading revisions to the weapons, violence, and school safety.
Is there a second?
And again, in a lot of ways, this was sort of an updating and a housekeeping. I think the original impetus for reviewing this was public comments that we heard. And some of those comments were to the extent that possibly our policies differed from other districts, but I'm not sure that we ever identified major differences between the way that our policy is written in other districts. And just to be sure of that, I reviewed them again real quickly before I came to this meeting and looked at Bangor, Camden, maybe one other, and they were more or less similar. But some of the language that's been changed in here, I think, maybe most significantly sort of describing some of the exceptions to the prohibition for educational purposes in the building.
Any comments or questions before we vote?
I did have, there's one section of materials here that falls into some gray area, and that would be those things that have knives on them but are normally used as tools, such as multi-tools. And to me, if we don't put in a statement that says that those are not intended to be viewed as weapons, then we run the risk that we'll have one teacher that won't care because they're in shop class or whatever, and then somebody else who will look at that and say, that's a weapon. And, then it's a mess. So, I've seen policies where it said that, this is not intended to apply to those items which are typically used as tools for a trader or something like that. Which, unfortunately, that would also include box cutters and utility knives, but they do fall under the C, which is, even though it's not supposed to be a weapon, if you use it like one, then this then applies. And I'm wondering, do we need to put a simple sentence that says that those things are not intended to be used as weapons, or do we just trust that people will be sensible about that?
Well, very quickly reading what's right here. I mean, in A, it talks about possession and or use of articles commonly used as weapons, which I think maybe
Okay,
what you were implying
nobody freak out.
is that a multi-tool may not be a...
Pocket knife.
I don't know how this is currently treated in school, but a multi-tool may not be considered something that's commonly used as a weapon. And then C discusses using an object that is not necessarily designed to be a weapon.
Right.
Well, I would think certainly we would have some concerns if someone took a multi-tool and decided to use it as a weapon.
So it is okay for kids to have a multi-tool on them?
I don't know.
I think that's the question.
That's kind of the question.
Wasn't that how this whole thing started?
Yes.
It would certainly not be okay for them to have one and use it in a threatening manner.
Right, but for
Right.
them to have it on their person, is that an okay, like, we have it on their belt loop, or they, it's up to interpretation.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, I've had security guards at the college get upset with me for having a Swiss Army knife in my pocket.
Well, how would you handle it at this point?
Well, clearly the multi-tool that we ended up in this conversation with was not a weapon. I would think that there are certain ones that could be weapons, but if the student, any student, going to Tri-County may have one during the day, that the teachers up there are not going to look at them and say, we probably can't have that. I don't know that for real, but I think that that would be what would happen. But I don't know verbatim But I know they've, you know, I think even some of the elementary principals have taken a pocket knife like that from a little kid saying, you probably shouldn't have that at school, and they remove it and it goes back to the parents. Maybe even a bigger knife that Ryan would have taken, and the kid forgets it in the pocket. I think it just comes to the office and they can go back and get it and take it home. But I don't know whether they can have a Leatherman on their belt and somebody remove it. I don't know.
We will have a policy meeting at the end of the month before the next board meeting. There might be a discussion for that.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's tough.
Can we get a follow-up as far as how that is currently handled in the schools?
For sure. Yeah. I have mixed feelings about it myself, but I'll definitely figure out how we handle it.
So we can put this on for first reading and then adjust it before it gets to second reading.
So I have just a question on part 3, the response to policy violation. I know we crossed out suspend, and we're not taking away when we say discipline students, that can include suspension, correct? Students can have restorative intervention and indoor, so we still consistent.
Any other questions or comments?
On the psychological evaluation, if I understand how that works, you have the right to request it. Parents do not have to agree to it, but they're not agreeing to it is then becomes part of the fact-finding behavior.
Yeah, and I guess they could also, we could request it and they could deny it, and we could say, well, they're not coming back without it.
But that would be a board decision.
Usually, like in an expulsion situation, well, no,
Yeah.
not necessarily. Because if I have a kid who I think is violent, but they may or may not have produced a weapon, and I say you're not coming back until we have a, it's like, you know, you may not make that decision. I may make that decision on the spot and say, look, this kid needs to go see.
Oh, so if it was a suspension situation.
Yeah, I mean, well, you're suspended for 3 or 4 days, but you're clearly losing it. We've taken whatever item it was, but we're asking you to go to walk-in care or TKD or whatever. We want a second evaluation before you come back. Then in certain situations, when if it was an expulsion, and we all made that decision later on down the road that you wanted a second evaluation before they came back, and that was one of the conditions of your expulsion. And then that, in that case, you would also make that decision. It would be a longer-term suspension. But I have a couple times in the last couple of years told someone that they need to go get evaluated, and it may or may not have been a knife, but we made the expectation.
Anything else? If not, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor? Those opposed? First reading.
And I did roll that one up again, also with, I thought I did with everything in it.
Not enough packet.
Not in fact, I thought I wanted that one all rolled up so you would see all the changes, but if you want to roll it.
Mark, any last?
Well, now you're gonna go backwards.
Can I make a suggestion that you did GCOA and GOAC maybe together?
Right.
Please?
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion on the second on the floor to approve for first reading supervision and evaluation of professional staff and evaluation of professional administrators. Any discussion?
I would just say those are to reflect the current language of the law and the professional growth and evaluation models approved by the DOE.
Hearing none, all those in favor? Those opposed? And it passes. Mark?
Can I have one more motion?
Can you do so?
Do I have a motion to eliminate policy JFCK and JFCKR to combine them, just so that we know we've eliminated, or maybe not?
So
Since you already adopted, just say can I have to eliminate and then, because I think we should do that by,
So move to eliminate the old policy then.
up JFC. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Thank you.
Those opposed? It passes.
Thank you.
Next policy meeting?
So I believe they're on the 4th Tuesday of the month.
Okay?
Is that vacation?
No.
Perfect.
Transportation, no meeting. Anything that we should know about transportation?
Now, right now, I have the committee out to, we have 3 candidates for the transportation director, and we're going to do interviews this week. Some people went on vacation, so we'll do it right after vacation, and I have Jason on that committee, and myself, Joe. Stella was on it because she deals a lot with special ed transportation, and Alicia. So we will hopefully be wrapping that up.
Very good. Negotiation? Nothing? Tri-county?
We didn't meet, we meet.
Extracurricular ad hoc. We did meet on March 25th. Had a nice discussion. The 2 athletic directors came with some suggestions, and I'm not sure if those are in the budget.
Those are second JV, I guess, if you will, golf coach, a fall middle school cheering, I believe. We rolled in wrestling as an actual sport. We did that last time at this time. Simon wanted 2 track coaches in the assistant at the high school level, 1 for winter track and 1 for spring track, and that's based on the numbers of kids that we have coming out and just basically supervision. I think there's like 40 kids and there was only 1 coach. It's winter, and then spring track is pretty big, and so we have 2 assistants. So.
I cannot hear you.
For the new stipends that are coming up, we have a new golf for middle school, JV, 2 high school track coaches, assistant track, 1 for winter and 1 for spring. Middle school wrestling, and I also believe there was another stipend for esports that were approved by that committee.
So those are in the budget already. So we will meet again probably in the fall, early fall, for what's happened during the spring. And we also had an SRO, or security monitor ad hoc meeting on March 19th. And there was a proposal to put a person in the middle school that can work closely with Ryan in the high school, because this is a great big huge building, and in order to make sure that the building is secure, it was taking an hour or 2 with 1 person doing it. And they would like to have a female because of bathroom issues and things, to have somebody go in there. And that has been put in the budget as well. Any questions on either ad hoc committees? Moving on, no old business, new business. Department of Education teach with tech training. Kurt,
Okay.
welcome.
So on this, those of you who don't know me, my name is Colonel Kelly, I'm a unit grader for the district, and I work high school, some middle school, not so much elementary school anymore, because we have the wonderful in Kimberlin, for integration. And one of our roles is we worked on the Teach with Technology grant, that's from the state DOE, and this is in conjunction with the MLTI programs. The MLTI programs have been around for 20 of years. In the last couple of years, instead of just giving software devices, they're also giving the ability for schools to choose how they spend that grant money, so they apply for it. One of the caveats of that is to present to the board. So here I am. Upon completion of this presentation, we will have been approved for last year, they'll reimburse, and we'll be able to apply for next year. And so it's pretty substantial, it's between $30,000 and $40,000 that we're looking for. And so I'll go through my slideshow, I'm happy to share with you guys as we go forward. What we focused on, one of the things that we focused on this year is we really looked at holes in our entire package, what we have to offer in RSU 19 as far as for media or creation tools. And one thing that I thought we were lacking with, and after conversations with all the players, was 2D type focused media, specifically printing. And so we did have some printing, but large scale formatting. To go along with that, we really wanted to dress this place up. It's a beautiful school, it's gorgeous, we're very fortunate to have it. There's a lot of white walls. So we wanted to have student work, student examples, the kids themselves, all over the place. And so this was going to give us the technology to be able to do that. So some of the things that we got, this is a Roland SG3 540 printer, and I'll tell you more about that in a second. A Sony camera, and then an ATM switcher kit, which I'll tell you about all the ins and outs of those as far as the actual components that we purchased. Our timeline, so we applied for the grant last June, we got accepted, materials ordered, materials delivered. This was, it took a little longer, but as it always does, I suppose, than to get it and get it installed on stuff. So this presentation is a little bit further in the year than I thought it was going to be. But we've been using it now for a couple of months. I'll go through some examples and kind of what we're thinking going forward. So the Roland printer cutter. So one of the things we really wanted to do is to be able to take, do you guys know what the term fat heads are? Have you ever heard of that before? You guys have kids, you've probably heard it before. So usually it's like a sports figure, it's, you know, Michael Jordan or somebody, and it's life size and it's on the wall. And I really wanted examples of our kids in all their glory all over the place. You go around a corner and there's not just sports, of course sports too, but you know, drama and music and reading and whatever it is, whatever subject area, to have examples of the kids' work. And so this is going to allow us to do that. This is a short video, kind of has Caitlin Burton, who's the teacher that's actually using this in a graphics art class, talk about it.
So we got the Roland SG3 540 with the grant, and we've been able to do a lot of very cool projects for students with it. Currently what we'll see in a minute is I'm going to print out from our play that happened this fall. We had pictures taken, I think, by our Warrior Broadcasting class, and they sent them to me, and I'm going to print them out on vinyl to hang them up in our school. Recently, we just held the science fair, and I printed out over 35 posters for the science fair, where over half of them will be going to the May State Science Fair to be showcased to the state. In my print shop class, which is more of a graphic design and production class, we've been working on polygon art to hang up around the school and projects for teachers. And one of those projects has been stickers, Nakoma stickers, using the vinyl for cars or for their classroom, computers, and so on and so forth. Hey, hey! Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so cool! It looks like it's glowing! Angela, you are a rock star. That is so cool! Angela, what a legacy to leave.
That is a good, if any of the roles are playing, that's a good one to leave.
I'm good, no thank you. Look at you, you look scary. That's awesome.
Yeah.
This is so cool. Look at your eyes, you are scary.
I think
The staff really does look wicked cool.
Your father and me.
That is so cool.
So if you do want to see that, it's right down the hallway right there, and our hope and plan is to do that across the board. And so we really want to give Miss Neal's reaction. So one of the other examples of the tools that we got, this is one of our nicer cameras. Obviously, we have a lot of awesome equipment, and we're very fortunate that way. This we used to do some, we went over to the elementary school. They were doing some 3D printing with Amber Chamberlain as well for bubble wands. And so this was actually a media production, a recording, coming back, cutting it, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Oh, I made 2. Alright, come back and stand the air bubble. Stay up, stay up, stay up. You smell it.
Could you tell me about your bubble wand that you made?
It's meant to blow big bubbles or small bubbles. I think I need to adjust the handle though, because the handle's very small.
So what's the size of the bubble?
Bunched.
Well, so bunch would mean there's a lot of bubbles grouped together.
Oh, they're bunch.
Okay.
Yeah, like that. That was fun.
So what your side? Tell me about your wands.
So I was trying to go for like a cool design. Like I did a bear claw because that's one of my favorite books. And for the star, I just went creative with it.
Can you show it to me?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. You made the bear claw?
Yeah.
The star one? That's fantastic. How did you use to do that? Tinkercad? Do you feel pretty confident in Tinkercad now? You know how to use that?
I'm Nash, and I was building a wand. I was trying to have the main part of the wand where the bubbles come out bigger because I've experienced when I blow bubbles with like a wand from the store that the bigger the wand is, the more bubbles would come out. So I tried that, but it was too big that the handle didn't print. My name is Lily, and I made a flower. I think I made it because I thought the more bubbles it had on top, the more bubbles it would blow. So I made it a flower, but I think it needs to be a little bit bigger.
You guys gonna try it now? That's the next step.
We just tried it, but
Adjust it.
yeah, we're doing like 3 different tests with each bubble wand.
Oh, is this your first test?
Yeah, we just did mine. Can I blow the handle?
Yeah. That was kind of like that.
So one of the things we're really excited about that is the kids that are doing this in 4th grade, of course, by the time they come to 5th grade, and my brother, Mr. Keith Kelly's classes, they have so much exposure to 3D printing and borrowing and all this stuff, and we're training them at that level to already come with that. So we can go that much further by the time they got to me at the high school. So it's really fantastic. The final one, I'm not actually going to play this for you, but this will all be linked if you want to look at it. It's just because it's so long. But this was a conversation. So this is our student, Mia Coots. She's been in a broadcasting class for a long, long time. She was using the ATEM switcher, which again, I'll show you physically what that is. But this gentleman, he does a Cool Tools podcast. This is the founder of Wired Magazine. So if you guys know Wired, that's now his kind of his role. He's kind of moved on from being editor. So now he does this weekly. And I sent an email in and said, hey, would you mind interviewing one of my students? And she was the first high school student to be able to be interviewed on this podcast. So she's already got more views than everybody else, which is great. That was the running joke with how many views she should get. So I won't play this whole thing because it's about a half hour. I'll just play the very beginning of it.
Welcome to another episode of the Cool Tools Show and Tell. Our special guest this week is Mia Coots. Hey Mia, would you like to introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, thanks so much. So my name is Mia Coots, and I am a senior at Nokomis Regional High in Newport, Maine. And my role here at Nokomis is I work with the broadcasting and tech department directly as sort of a professional development person, and I go around to other schools with Mr. Kelly and help teach new technology initiatives.
Well, it's really great. I think you might be our first high school student on the show, so what a first for that. Thank you for volunteering your time. And I'm really, really interested in seeing what some of your favorite tools are. So, I mean, if you could tell us and maybe show us.
So feel free to watch that, because it's about a half an hour long. It shows you some of the same tools that we use in the production, all the other things we got for equipment. So that's pretty much my spiel. If you guys have any questions or any things, we actually are going to be looking at it again next year. And we're looking at other types of media that we don't have a lot of input in. One thing we're focused on, hopefully next year, it works out, is embroidery and sewing. We have a little bit of that, we have some of that, but that's one of those things that we can focus even more on and do that. And then again, if you guys have ideas, I'm all ears. So. Yes, please.
Where do those videos sit?
Those videos right now, I just upload them on the slideshow. I'll share with Mike, and he can share with you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, you go through the whole slideshow. Yeah.
So, science fair used the vinyl printer.
Yep.
I think we had she said she did 42.
I think so, yeah.
13 of those students either got scholarships or placed. And a lot of how the judges, having been a judge, we often make choices about those based on the professionalism of the post.
Can I tell you something about that?
Yeah.
Because you're 100% right. So one of the things, it turned out because of the snow day, they couldn't reschedule, it was snowing that Saturday, so they did it virtually. And that's our jam, right? So we had the kids came in, and they used our studio, and every student that went through got commented by the judges, you guys look very professional, your lighting is like, it makes a difference. It makes a difference.
Yeah. So on your next grant, camera that.
Yeah, for sure. No, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Any questions? Any other questions? Corinne, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to Penobscot River Educational Partnership.
You got this, or you want me to take it?
Well, I can take it if you want.
I'll wait.
Okay. So basically, back in the day, there was Penobscot River Educational Partnership, and it was for districts to get together and do professional development. And we may have been involved way back in the day, or may not have been, but we haven't been since I've been the superintendent. And remember that what we're trying to get here is those educational service centers, because we get $122,000 back to be part of the regional center. And that was an initiative, kind of like consolidation back in the day. If you work together as a regional partnership, they give you money from the state because you're working together. The way we are connected right now is we are connected for purchasing supplies, and we're also involved with Spruce. Spruce, again, is our Bangor Regional Program. Okay, so what this document does is, instead of having Spruce be kind of separate with the director out of Bangor and somebody else running prep, we're putting them together through this language that was designed by Drummond and Woodson, and making one group. And what the benefit is, from my understanding, is that if when we pay for a director, because we pay for the director in both scenarios, the state gives us 55% of that director's salary. So we benefit in terms of the more money for the whole organization from the money that we get. And so we did this quite a while. When this first came around, I said, we should get back into Spruce. Because Spruce, again, you pay as you go. If we have a student that goes to Bangor Regional, we pay for it. If we're not involved with prep as it stands right now, professional development, because it's just so huge, and we do all of ours mostly internally. So, but if we did participate in prep, even in this organization, you pay it for what services that you use. So if let's say Lori and I had a grant, we said we want to participate in this professional development, we would walk that through the process and say we're going to do that. I don't see us doing that. But we do want to be part of this. We want to stay connected, and this is kind of a formality to say RSU 19 wants to be involved. They're going to continue to do the two things that they need to do so that we get 120, right, Joe? Just under?
Just under 122.
Comes through our ED 279, and it's just, we don't pay out to get that out, basically, which is amazing. But that's what this organization, and I made 4 or 5 copies if you want to actually read the 16
Was it in
parts
our
and pieces.
online packet?
You got it today,
Oh, separate. Yeah.
separate, and we don't have to vote on this right now. We definitely should do it at our next meeting if you want more information, but that's the nutshell. It's trying to keep us, they've just reshuffled the administration, in my opinion, and Chris, this may where you want to weigh in. But there's no reason for us not to be connected to this Penobscot, and they've renamed it to the Penobscot River Central Service Center. We want to be part of it because it would be ridiculous for us to say we don't want that, because then it's like kiss your 120 goodbye for no reason, because it doesn't cost us anything. If we send a kid, Estella's already budgeted for that to the Bangor Regional Program, we pay for that, but that's again a benefit for us, because if we don't have the capacity, that would be your high cost out of district placement, right? And we've done a really good job bringing all that back, but if we had to have a kid that we couldn't, we would pay for that, but that would go through, multiple layers, and Stella would budget for that.
So there's no money up front.
Nope.
It's just if we use the,
At least 2 services.
right.
And we do bulk purchasing, that's through, we started out with WB Basin, but if there's a big thing to get purchased, we all would work together and we get a way better deal. I mean, this is huge. Prep is huge.
Right.
Mike, I got it and I appreciate it, but I read the whole thing, and did you look at the governance issue? They're saying that each district will have 1 member, but if you're in an AOS with 5 communities, they're going to be 5. The population of these people put together end up being the smaller you are, the more power you have. That doesn't go well with a 1 man, 1 vote.
Yeah, for me, I sit at the table as our representative, and then Chris was doing Spruce.
Yeah.
It's all the superintendents and the Penquist.
Because an AOS can be made up of 6 or 7 communities, and they'll have 6 or 7 board of directors, while we're only going to have 1.
So on the Spruce board, everything was weighted the same way we are. So they might have 5, but they only had 7 votes, whereas I sat there with...
Weighted which way?
Weighted by population.
Population?
Yeah. So in the Spruce, for those of you who don't know, the Spruce is Southern Penobscot Program for Children with Exceptionalities. Regional program for children with exceptionalities. And it was generally for day treatment or multi-handicap, it's the end of special ed that we may not have the resources to supply. So out of district placements. And so for many years I've sat on the board for this. And I always found it funny because Spruce had an executive board, which was all the superintendents, and then they had a board which was made up of some superintendents and some board members. And the board, the superintendents were 1 superintendent, 1 vote, that's it. And then on the board side, they were weighted by population. So we had, in that structure, Bangor was first, we were second for the weight. Because we have almost as many students as Bangor does in that structure. The new system, and a lot of it, the board was decisions were made by the executive board first, that came to the board, and it was kind of redundant in that sense. Under the new structure, it's supposed to be an executive board with one superintendent, 1 vote in that structure. And although there is another board present, they won't get a chance to make decisions about the operational process.
What is their function?
As far as I know, to supervise the director.
Okay.
But,
Should we table this, and is there more information that we need in order to make a decision, or are we comfortable with?
Can you hand me a copy?
When I go to a Spruce directors meeting, it's whatever superintendents show up that day, kind of like our Pinquist meeting. And if work needs to be done, we have to wait for a quorum. And you're right, James Stonin from AOS, whatever, in Dedham, is the same guy who's representing Orrington. And he's not going to maybe change his vote based on what we're going to do in that particular situation. We're all pretty much superintendents thinking about what's best for our kids and what's best for Spruce and what's best. And that's kind of when I vote. The only thing I have an interest in is Spruce. So I wouldn't really vote on something that involved prep, because unless there was a piece of professional development we were dying to do, we would say, hey, this sounds like a really good idea. The national speaker's coming. We're going to send some teachers, or there's a bunch of phys ed teachers getting together and they're going to be here working on a project. And we'd say, that sounds like good, and we would have the money set aside by Lori and say, hey, that's good support for our PE teachers, and then we would do that. But I wouldn't be voting necessarily on those things. So we all seem to vote as superintendents for whatever's best for Spruce or for the organization. There's not really any split votes.
There are no weighted votes.
I wouldn't say this. We just try to get, the weight is for making sure we have a quorum at the meeting.
And that's all, not a voting issue.
Well, I mean, you've been to Pinquist meetings at UTC, and back in the day, you would have known Betsy. And Betsy would have said, this is what Spruce needs, and this is the budget, and we'd all say, yeah, we approve that budget. And we never really counted votes. We didn't. And so this is that same type of organization. This is Spruce and the prep put together to run those organizations.
The way I read it is that's exactly what they're saying. You get an AOS, so you're going to get outvoted. But if you are weighted, that satisfies.
And I can confirm that. I mean, because I got on this because they were sending us around, and they wanted us to be, you don't want to be out of this and not get your. To be honest with you, I'll check on the weighted votes, Ray. But this seems to be the bylaws to connect these two organizations that were somewhat functional and somewhat not functional.
Well, they're basically discontinuing the Spruce board altogether.
Don't get me wrong, I've been part of these things too.
Yeah.
But how do they run into trouble in the future is when you don't have good, clear rules. If you have good, clear rules, everybody knows the expectations and so forth. So you do take some votes, period. And if they're not weighted, they should not be approved as an organization.
Did you suggest we had it till next month, so we could, or not, go and review this again?
And so,
Some more information.
my suggestion is to find out, if you could find out whether it's weighted or it's actual.
No, it's not. The new structure is the same as the executive board for Spruce was, which is one superintendent, one vote. But as Ray says, there is that clause in there that says that if a member on the board of directors is representing more than one district. Right now, though, I don't think we have any AOSs in the system. I don't think we've accepted any.
Depends who you go. Must have one with Old Town.
Old Town isn't an AOS anymore. So Old Town would have their own superintendent, and they would have one vote.
I mean, it says in AOS, we'll have one vote.
Are they in?
Mike, not being part of this means what?
We wouldn't.
We lose 122,000. We don't get the combined buying power, right? And if we have an out-of-district placement, we can't send them to Spruce,
We can.
but it costs.
slightly more if they,
I mean, Ray's read this, I mean, if you're an AOS, like I said, just pick James Stone, and his name doesn't matter to you, but he works for the airline school, Warrington and maybe Dedham, and so he would have 2 or 3 votes. But I don't, and yes, worst case, there would be something that he would vote against, and he might have a little power, but the rest of the superintendents in that organization is
you've got 28 right now in the structure.
He's really not going to carry more votes necessarily than mine. And I guess I got to tell you that we vote. It's like a snow day. Remember, I've talked to you about it. It's like the snow day starts, and if we all start going across from Millinocket to Newport, we have a huge groundswell of acceptance of whatever happens at the organizational level. I can get more information if you want. I guess it would just be Ray's right. There is a third thing down on this. An AOS would get multiple votes. So do I see that as I don't see that as a deterrent, because I see how we vote together on the issues to support Spruce and to bargain together and to use this organization for the best benefit of all our units.
Are we ready to make a motion to accept, or if not, we can gather more information and do it at the next meeting? Chad?
I'd like to make a motion to rejoin the Penobscot River Educational Partnership.
Clear second.
Second.
Motion and second on the floor. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor? Those opposed? It passes. Moving on to the 2024-25 school calendar.
Motion to approve the calendar in its latest presentation.
We're just going to say, which one?
You're doing 23, 20?
Yeah.
Which one you want to do first?
24, 25.
Yes.
Do we need to do?
We need to do the 23, 24 too.
Oh, that's right, you added.
Let's do the 23, 24
Sure.
first. All right, there's a
But
motion.
my motion is not on the 23, 24.
Could you amend it?
You could withdraw it and then do it again.
I'll let Mike do his presentation.
All right, Mike.
All right.
I understood the 24, 25.
All that's changed on this is a recommendation, it was brought forward by the admin team, just based on the snow days that we've had recently. It's moving, it's on the 24th of May. Previously was a workshop day, full day workshop day. The recommendation is to make that a student day, but make it an early release with an afternoon workshop. So you get half your workshop day back, still goes on there. And then your early release on so the student day now is back to Thursday the 13th. And that is an early release, but a workshop day in the afternoon. So you get your full workshop day back from your teachers. And then you're getting a workshop day on the 14th, and you're not coming back on the 17th. And it just gives an end on a Friday, and then it gets teachers re-engaged to start thinking about summer school on the 17th and 18th and get rolling. And kids get out a little bit, hopefully there's a benefit for having kids engaged in the morning of the 24th. Like, granted, it's 2 or 3 weeks ahead, but anyway, that's the background on that. Doesn't affect, it's an early release for the kids, but it's.
Chad?
Make a motion, we accept the revised calendar for 2023-2024.
Motion and second on the floor to accept the revision of the 2023-24 calendar. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Those opposed? It passes.
Mike, can you just make sure you put that announcement out so parents know ahead of time?
Absolutely, I'll have it done tomorrow.
And
And every week thereafter.
yeah,
I want to do it again.
moving on to the 2024-25 calendar.
I see some dates in June. There's, the last 2 weeks in June, I don't think the dates on them are correct.
The last 2 weeks.
Yeah, so after the 13th,
Yep.
that week after the 13th, it's supposed to end the 20th, not the 21st.
Oh, yeah, we're missing a day.
And then the week after, it's supposed to be the 23rd to the 27th. We've got the 24th to the 28th. I have not for the rest of the months. I just noticed that one right off the bat.
So it should be 19 and then 20, what you're saying?
Yeah, that early release week,
Yeah.
it should be the 16th to the 20th.
Right.
Yeah. And then the week after, the 23rd.
Thank you, Jessica. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to make a motion, then we discuss it, or do you want me to discuss it? Somebody already make a motion.
Chad?
I make a motion, we accept the 2024-2025 calendar.
Second.
Mike, is there anything that you would like to add to that
I
conversation?
appreciate Jessica bringing those things forward. This is, again, we now have to align with Tri-County. We can have 5 dissimilar days from their calendar. I would say that knowing what I know from their calendar, we will have at least 2 dissimilar days, because in this version, if you look at December break, we are not going to be out 2 full weeks. We will be out starting the full week of the 22nd, and then we are coming back on the 2nd and 3rd of January. There's some calendars out there who are having those 2 full weeks off. I don't recommend that, because that pushes you into the Juneteenth, no, it doesn't matter. It pushes you way out into the end of the year. So we will have 2 dissimilar days there, but I think that we'll still have 5 or less. But I suggest that this board goes with this recommendation, and I'll confirm that it's 5 dissimilar days. And then we also moved, different than this year's calendar, we moved in October. The second week is an early release and a workshop before the holiday instead of the 3rd and 4th. So those are the major changes. Again, I'll take this bit out to the principals have looked at it, the association has it. I'm 99% sure it's confirmed that it won't have more than 5 dissimilar days, but I'll take any other comments.
Any other comments?
Can I just ask what the previous concern was about this calendar that I overheard?
I mentioned that if you came back on the, if you're out the full 2 weeks in January, the first was a holiday and second, third, you stayed out, and then you made those vacation days, you would push this way into June. You know what I'm saying? And then, on one version that was floating around, graduation was on the 13th. If you look at that version, only a couple people were there. We pushed that back to the 6th.
That was the one.
Right, because graduation would have been after everybody left.
Yes. So this is the version as presented.
Okay, any questions?
Mike, we're not the ones that have to change. If there's 5 similar days, they can change, can't they?
They haven't.
We've been very collaborative in the last few years to make them all aligned so that we're not in violation.
Well, that's great, but on the other hand, you just made a recommendation for us, and it makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a violation. I just want to confirm that.
You're all set?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anya?
I just wondered, and maybe it's been asked before, and it might have to do with like the alternating days at the high school, but how come we can't have our early release days always on the same day? You know, like Pittsfield always does Wednesdays, and it just like, you know, from a parent perspective and for daycare and stuff like that, it would seem so much easier if you knew your early release days were going to be Wednesday or Thursday. And ours are just always scattered all over the place.
We have 1, 2, 3.
Because we do have a lot of, we generally do have a lot of Wednesdays, but then they have these other random ones.
3 are on Wednesdays, yes, Tanya, and then the one early release before the workshop day helps in October, because I think we're doing some goal setting and those types of things. But maybe the one in March, we could slide back to that Wednesday, and then 4 out of 5 would be, and then until the end of the year, but does that make sense?
And I think the one in March might be something to do with the collaborative of your other districts, because that is a professional development and
Yeah.
a lot of your
Yeah, I
other
think that's
districts.
a huge professional development day on that week in March, but, yeah, 3 of them are, but you're right, I understand the thought, it would be consistent.
Any other?
And is there any way you can, so that last student day is coming back on a Monday with an early release?
Well, let's pray that we don't have those 5 snow days.
Oh, my
I'm with you.
We may have to change something
Yeah.
down the road.
I mean, we were close to being out really early. And I think doing what we just did was helpful for kids, but yeah, I'll do everything we can to stay away from that.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of this? Those opposed? It passes. Yeah. Mowing contract.
No, we didn't get them.
Yeah,
They didn't come in the email either.
That would table it then.
We will be tabling that.
If you didn't get the information, I would have thought that would be okay. Sorry about that.
All right, assistant principal for Nokomis Regional Middle School. Are you ready with that?
Amen. So we had about 5 or 6 applicants. I took a kind of a close look at the beginning with Scott, Dave, and myself looked at them. We brought 3 to the interview team. Rachel was on the interview team, I was on the interview team, Dave was, and then there was 4 classroom teachers, I believe there's a special ed teacher, and 3 classroom teachers. Our unanimous choice from the 3 people that we interviewed was Susan Condon, and she interviewed extremely well, and the teachers on that team were super impressed with her over the other candidates. So she would be our nomination for the assistant principal at Center School.
Susan Condon.
She's been with us for about 5 years. She's been a teacher for 27.
Yep.
Um,
Down in Clinton.
So,
Certification.
certified. Still. yeah.
Admin certified is what I meant.
So, her salary would be, I guess I would, Dave or I should have filled out the new hire sheet. I didn't, but I gave her all the background information. Rachel, do you want to chime in, or you?
They pretty much summed it up. It was like an hour interview, 3 candidates, quite a big hiring panel, went well. It was a good experience.
She fits in our administrative structure very strangely because she has so many years of experience, and when you have a teacher like that, they almost go backwards when they become an administrator in our district. So we offered her $82,000 and she's accepted that. That's barely an increase over what she would have made as a teacher when you look at the per diem days. So, and we also wanted to keep it respectful for some of our other positions. So that is something that we need to consider because it was, she could have easily said, nope, I might as well stay as a teacher, and,
Do I hear a motion? Chad?
I make a motion that we accept Susan Condon as the vice principal of the middle school.
We have a motion and a second on the floor to accept Susan Condon as the new principal for middle school.
Assistant.
Oh, assistant principal, excuse me. Any discussion on the motion?
Oh, short-lived, one of them.
I just think, I know Susan well, she's lovely, and I think she's a great teacher. It does concern me a bit that we have such a new principal, and I felt super comfortable with that because Scott had so much experience, and now we have a totally inexperienced assistant principal coming on. I'm kind of wondering, like, what are we going to have in place to help
Support them.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna complement each other well, but I'll be pretty closely connected to the admin team. To be honest with you, when I come over here, I talk to Scott quite a bit.
Right.
I mean, he and I connect on issues, and if I'm gonna hear about something, I'm gonna probably hear about it as a discipline thing, through the assistant principal. I think, to be honest with you, Dave's getting a lot of support in the curriculum areas that he needs from the instructional coach and some of the things that he's doing with the teams are going in the right direction, but I obviously will be very closely connected to those things. But I think they'll complement each other well. I think she has some ideas on how some procedures and things in place to streamline some of the things that they do so that they're consistent in how they do it. She was very impressive in the interview.
Because the other part I was worried about, you know, the middle school is like pretty tricky behavioral, and you know, I feel like Scott's fairly firm and sort of conservative in that role, you know, and we've had that for a while, and then when we have a newcomer coming in, like how are we going to kind of affirm that that's going to?
I think I will need to affirm that. I mean, I think, yes, I will help support that.
Do they bounce off Mary at all? Like, is there a
Mary's
relationship there?
definitely can be a support.
Yeah, because I mean, they're close, and it's like if
yeah.
there's a situation, you know, that has to be helped,
Yeah.
you know, right then.
To be honest, the other day we had I don't know if you want to hear the story, but I had a bus issue, and I heard coming off off the interstate that there was a 911 call at the bus garage. By the time I got to the bus garage, they told me to go to the high school, and I was here. When I was here, Dave was over here, Jean was over here supporting, Ryan was here, so they do support each other with it actually. So they will support each other on multiple events and in response. And then so I would definitely second that if Susan needed some support, she could always get another idea from Mary.
Yeah, and she's had decades of experience with middle schoolers.
It's different when you go to
It's
admin.
very different.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? And it passes. Would you like to go down through the staff resignations?
Is that where we are?
Yep.
I forget somebody let me know. We have to make a couple of nominations. So, resignation, Shannon Neal, Ed Tech 3, Somerset, personal reasons, Michael Conley, custodian, Comas Regional Middle School, High School. We have had a bunch of candidates to backfill that, so it's been nice to hear that at least she's got 3 or 4 people coming back into the middle school. Leanne Miller, Ed Tech 3 interventionist, Somerset, personal. Melissa Round, Ed Tech 3 at the end of the year for retirement. Nominations for teachers. You have in your packet Amanda Pearl, special ed teacher at EDS. Jane, that's next year, right?
Yes, next
Yeah,
year.
she's
Right now, she's been working in our special ed department with Brenda Smith. She's, hired as an ed tech, but she has got a degree and she's done a fabulous job. And we're very lucky because she has a ton of experience already. So it's worked out really well.
And Christopher Warren will be a special ed teacher at EDS in our, I call it the Deer Go program. It's the students that we support before they go to an out-of-district placement, and they're not really, they need some support deeper than the planning in middle school. So he'll be starting next year. Is that correct? Next year. Kim Scott, special ed teacher at Bassford Elementary School. Nicole DeRose, special ed teacher at Somerset. Sheila, those are for next year. Correct?
But those require action.
They do. Those 4.
Chad?
I make a motion, we accept all 4 teachers.
Second.
I'm giving it to you, Karina.
There's a motion and a second on the floor to accept all 4 of those positions. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? passes.
Appointments, Letitia, the third-year custodian of Coolidge Regional Middle School, High School. Dana Thompson, custodian, Coolidge Regional Middle High. Mary Holt is an ed tech special ed over at Somerset. That name probably looks familiar because her husband is working for us as a half-time maintenance person, and her daughter works over at in music. Transfers, Amanda Beckett, and this is starting for next year, grade 1 to kindergarten at Sebastopol Elementary School. Anna Stevens was a math interventionist under the grant. She's going to grade 1 at Somerset. Ellen Smith is going from grade 2 at Sebastopol Valley to middle school math. What a switch. Randy Robill. Randy wanted to work back at night. Moved back to Somerset custodian from night to day. He tried the day, then going back to night. And Joe Levesque is an Ed Tech 1 at Coolidge Regional Middle School, and he wants to be a custodian to be able to work year-round at Somerset. So yes, we need to think about the end of the year calendar and move the May meeting up so that we can get everything prepared for the district budget meeting.
Any?
Motion to move the May meeting one week forward.
To the 7th. Second. Do we have a second? Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of moving that date? Those opposed? It passes.
I would go back to one thing on that is that so once we get the budget rolled up to you guys, and it's that the night meeting before, please come and listen, and then we bring it all together, and then Robin and I and Joe meet with the townspeople so they can be looking for those numbers. We try to pick a Wednesday or any day of the week that Robin can fit, and we get a 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock so they can meet during the day, and then they come at night at like 5, so that we try to get them to come and listen to listen to the budget a little bit more, see what their actual numbers are, and then ask questions. I can tell you some of the towns probably won't be too worried about it once they see some of the numbers when you see them next week. So anyway, and I would also say back to thinking about teachers already and what's coming in. I was at the University of Maine R&O trying to recruit last Friday. And if you read the Bangor Daily News lately, there are a lot of shortage areas, and we're doing okay right now trying to find these people, but you know right now that some of these people that we've just put on board could decide to go someplace else. We are getting some good growth from internal candidates. I love the balance of some people from inside and some people from outside. I met some nice people, but you walk by and somebody's walking by and say, "Oh, great, would you like to teach?" "Oh, I'm sorry, I got a job last Thursday," just kind of wandering through to see what's happening. So it's like, I've told you this before, the kids can go wherever they want to go. Portland had a bunch of people around that table most of the afternoon, because if you're a young person, you want the nightlife, you're going to go to Portland, right? I did have some people who knew Nokomis, or our district. They've had some, we're close enough to the university that they send kids for like visits and observations and stuff like that. So it's nice when a kid comes up to me and I say, "You know where we are?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I did a practicum or I did something in your school system." So, and a couple kids actually, when we have first and second grade open right now. Some kids took some brochures, and we may have some interest. But I'll tell you, there's 40, 50 districts in the room, and there's 40, 50 kids, and it's their market right now. And so it's exciting to go up there and see what's coming out of the university, because Husson's there, University of Maine, and we missed the one in Farmington. But just telling you, we could put these people on, and they could resign.
You know it's not a given. Any future agenda items that you can think of that need to be addressed?
You guys already made a motion to accept the calendars.
Yes. Hearing nothing, good night.